A humble film set janitor's quiet dedication caught Clint Eastwood's attention. Frank Mitchell had worked behind the scenes for years, unseen and unappreciated. But one day, Clint Eastwood noticed. And what happened next? A brand new SUV, a moment that left everyone speechless, and a reaction that will stay with you forever. Stay with us, because this is a story you won't want to miss. And if you love inspiring stories, don't forget to subscribe for more. The set of Clint Eastwood's latest film was a world of constant motion. Amidst the chaos, one figure remained in the background, Frank Mitchell, the janitor who kept everything running smoothly, but was rarely acknowledged. Frank had worked on film sets for years, always arriving before the first crew member and leaving long after the last one had gone home. More than just a janitor, he was a quiet caretaker, fixing broken equipment, ensuring the floors gleamed, and keeping the environment comfortable for everyone. Despite his tireless work, few took the time to thank him. Each morning, Frank arrived before the cameras rolled. The film set was eerily quiet in those early hours, with only the hum of distant traffic. He liked it that way. It gave him time to make sure everything was in perfect order. As he wheeled his cleaning cart across the soundstage, he surveyed the space. The set designers had built an entire world within these walls, but it was his job to keep it running. The polished floors, the neatly arranged tools, the small repairs no one noticed, all were his silent contributions to the magic of filmmaking. He parked his battered old sedan in the farthest corner of the lot, as if not wanting to draw attention to it. The car, with its fading paint and unreliable engine, was a reflection of his struggles outside the glamorous world of filmmaking. Yet, Frank never let on. To him, hard work was about dedication, not recognition. Clint Eastwood had spent decades in Hollywood, but he never lost sight of the people who worked behind the scenes. Unlike many, he noticed the unseen figures, the ones who made the magic happen but never stood in the spotlight. Frank Mitchell was one of those people. At first, it was just small things that caught Clint's attention. The way Frank always greeted people with a genuine smile, how he meticulously wiped down surfaces between takes, or how he would quietly fix a broken chair before anyone even realized it was damaged. Frank never sought credit, never complained. He simply took pride in his work. At times, Clint saw the exhaustion in Frank's eyes, the kind of weariness that came from years of hard work, not just one long day. Yet, no matter how tired he was, Frank always found a way to smile and keep going. But what truly caught Clint's eye was Frank's car. Time and again, Clint watched him struggle at the end of a long day, sleeves rolled up, hands blackened with grease as he tried to coax life into the dying engine. Some nights, the car refused to start entirely, forcing Frank to wait for a ride home. It was clear, this vehicle was on borrowed time, and yet, Frank depended on it every single day. One evening, as Clint stepped out of his trailer, he paused. Across the lot, Frank was alone, finishing up a minor repair on a set piece no one had even noticed was broken. He wiped his hands on his worn-out work pants, gave the equipment a final check, and moved on. Without a word, without seeking acknowledgement. Clint watched, his respect for the man growing. Clint, a man of action rather than words, began thinking of a way to help. One evening, after a particularly grueling day of shooting, Clint spotted Frank standing by his car, the hood propped open, frustration evident on his face. He approached quietly. Frank exhaled sharply, running a hand through his graying hair. He twisted the key in the ignition again, but the engine only sputtered in protest. With a tired sigh, he leaned against the car, rubbing his temples. Clint stood a few feet away, watching for a moment. He could see the weight Frank carried, not just from this car, but from years of hard work, unacknowledged. Then, finally, he stepped forward. "Need a hand?" Clint's voice was calm, steady, but there was a sincerity in his tone that made Frank glance up. Frank looked up startled. Then he chuckled, shaking his head. "Thanks, Mr. Eastwood. But I've been wrestling with this old thing for years. She's stubborn, but she still gets me where I need to go most of the time." Clint watched as Frank gave the dashboard a small pat, as if thanking the car for holding on another day. That gesture stayed with him. Here was a man who worked tirelessly, who gave so much to others, yet expected nothing in return. Clint decided then and there he was going to change that. Clint knew that simply handing Frank a new car wouldn't sit right with him. The man was humble, and receiving charity might make him uncomfortable. So Clint decided to turn this into a group effort. Over the next few weeks, Clint discreetly shared Frank's story with trusted colleagues, actors, producers, set designers, and even the executives funding the film. He spoke not just of Frank's hard work, but of his character, his kindness, and his silent but unwavering dedication. The response was overwhelming. People from every department chipped in, from lead actors to costume designers. Even a local car dealership, moved by the story, agreed to sell a brand new red Jeep SUV at a significant discount. It was the perfect choice. Rugged, reliable, and built to last, just like Frank. People became careful around Frank, making sure not to mention anything that could give the surprise away. Whenever discussions about the plan took place, someone would conveniently ask Frank to check on something in another part of the set. It became a shared secret, a quiet mission that bonded the crew together. The plan was in motion, but no one let Frank suspect a thing. On the final day of filming, the entire crew gathered on set for what appeared to be a routine wrap-up meeting. Clint took the stage, microphone in hand, his sharp gaze scanning the crowd before resting on Frank, who stood near the back, looking as unassuming as ever. "I've always believed," Clint began, his voice carrying effortlessly through the set, "that a film's success isn't just about the people in front of the camera. It's about every single person who puts in the work behind the scenes. And there's one man here who's done that every day. Not for fame, not for recognition, but because he believes in what he does. Frank Mitchell, come up here." Frank's eyes widened in confusion. The crew turned toward him, clapping and cheering as he hesitantly made his way forward. Clint continued, "Frank, you never ask for anything, but sometimes the people who give the most deserve to receive something in return. So, on behalf of everyone here, we have a little surprise for you." Then, as the final clip faded, the curtains behind them pulled back, revealing a gleaming red Jeep SUV parked center stage, its polished surface reflecting the bright studio lights. Gasps filled the air. Frank froze. His hands trembled as he stared at the vehicle, struggling to process what was happening. A brand new Jeep SUV. For him. Frank stood frozen, his eyes darting between Clint and the gleaming car in front of him. He took a hesitant step forward, then stopped, shaking his head in disbelief. One of the assistant directors, who had worked with Frank for years, chuckled, "Told you we noticed, Frank." Frank swallowed hard, finally reaching out to run his fingers along the hood of the car. It was real. It was his. Tears welled in Frank's eyes as the reality of the moment hit him. The entire crew erupted into applause, some wiping their own eyes. I don't know what to say," Frank finally managed, his voice thick with emotion. "I never thought anyone noticed what I did." Clint placed a firm but reassuring hand on Frank's shoulder. "Frank, kindness never goes unnoticed. Even when you think no one's watching, the good you do has a way of coming back to you." Frank turned to the crew, shaking his head in disbelief. "I've worked a lot of jobs in my life, and I've never met a group of people as wonderful as all of you. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart." Word of Clint Eastwood's gesture spread beyond the film set. News outlets picked up the story, and fans of Clint applauded not just his talent, but his genuine compassion. For Frank, the car was more than just a vehicle. It was a symbol that his work, though often overlooked, truly mattered. And for Clint, it was a simple but powerful reminder that sometimes the best way to honor someone is to let them know they've been seen. As Clint watched Frank drive off that evening, a small smile played on his lips. Some heroes don't wear capes, he thought. Some simply carry a mop and a wrench, making the world better in ways few take the time to see. Clint Eastwood's gesture is a reminder that the people who work behind the scenes are just as deserving of recognition. Kindness isn't about grand gestures, it's about paying attention, taking action, and letting people know they matter. In our daily lives, we often pass by people like Frank, hardworking individuals whose contributions go unnoticed. But what if we took a moment to truly see them, to offer a word of appreciation, a helping hand, or even just a genuine smile? Small acts of kindness can create ripples that reach farther than we imagine. What do you think about this story? Have you ever witnessed or experienced an unexpected act of kindness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of compassion. Because in the end, it's the little things that make the biggest difference.